Hey guys, Scott here to talk to you about a pure bow build that I've been practicing for a couple weeks now, and I can safely say it is one of the hardest builds in the game to use. It has an extremely high skill cap. You have to friggin' free aim arrows that have no AoE explosion on it. It's like a 1 degree arrow in a 360-degree angle, and you have to free aim those with lag. It's very rewarding to use this build and succeed with it. And there are three basic principles that you have to use when you're using a pure archery build. The first is you need to have perfect spacing. You need to know just when you're going to be outside of range of an attack to where your opponent thinks he can swing and hit you, but you're just outside of range so you can punish him with a counter hit. Next, you need to be able to understand your opponent's patterns. A very common thing is when an opponent sees a bow, or when they see a bow, they try to roll into it, and you need to know if your opponent is going to roll into you and then roll into you again, or try a rolling attack the first time, then you release your arrow, or he's going to roll 3 times. You need to analyze their pattern and see how many times they tend to roll, or how many times they, it's like a mind game. You need to not let them think you're going to release the arrow, when they would think it's actually going to be released. So you need to be able to understand your opponent's patterns very well. And the last important thing about using a bow-only build is you need to be good at trading. And that seems counterintuitive when you're using a bow. You want to be out of range and, peppering them with arrows from far away, but that doesn't really work in practice. Really, one of the best parts about using a bow is trading with people, trading with small weapons, straight swords, curved swords, thrusting swords, really anything without hyper armor. You will almost assuredly win the trade, and that is because while they're swinging, you're going to get a Leo Ring counter hit because arrows do benefit from Leo Ring, and you'll probably hit them for around 350. They'll hit you for around 250 or something like that, and by the end of the fight, you'll both be very low, but you should come out on top. And that's why Red Tear Stone is very important for this build as well. But without further ado, let's go into the actual specifics of using a pure bow build. First up, let's talk about the simplest of the 3 things you need to master while using a bow: spacing. There's not much to this. This is just, you can learn this from any build in the game. You need to have perfect spacing. You need to know the exact range of every weapon. You need to know how lag works and how things will hit you if you're running away from attacks and not if you're running into them. You need to know all of this stuff. That is enough for a separate guide entirely, but mastering spacing is very important for getting counter hits on people and not being punished for it. Now, it can't happen that often because eventually the opponent's going to learn that they need to move forward a bit more and they can't really be pressured while you have a bow. But still, mastering spacing is definitely one of the most important things you can do while using a bow-only build. And like I said, that's enough for another guide entirely. Which, I've made guides on how to deal with lag and how lag is kind of interpolated in this game and how positions are calculated. So if you're looking for more spacing, just check my videos on that, and hopefully that'll get you on your way if you're not familiar with it. So the next thing that you need to learn how to do is analyze your opponent. And this is not really something that you can practice against multiple people. It changes on every single player that you're fighting. Some people are more predictable than others, and some people are very unpredictable, and those people will probably kill you. But for the most part, most people have some type of pattern, but the only way that you can see that pattern is by instigating something. So what I usually do at the beginning of fights is just knock an arrow, lock onto them, and see what they do. Usually there are 3 types of reactions. The first one is they try to side strafe it, so they'll run a circle around you left and right. Another reaction is they'll pull out a shield and just turtle up and do nothing. And another reaction is they'll roll into you. And when they roll into you, this is where you got to learn their pattern. Some people roll once and do a rolling attack, and if that's the case, then you need to let the arrow go right after their first roll. If they don't do that, well, then you need to be able to adjust accordingly. So usually on the first couple of seconds of the fight, I knock an arrow, let the opponent roll into me, and just see what they do. Even if they get a rolling attack off on me, okay, I lose a couple hundred health, but I learned that they're extremely aggressive and I can counter them with a single, R1 after they do one rolling attack. Now, some opponents will roll into you a bunch of times, assuming you're trying to roll catch them, and then you need to learn their patterns too. See if they're going to do 2 or 3 or 4 rolls, and that basically just trains your mind into getting ready for delaying your arrow, and it makes it so you don't have a gut reaction to see a roll and just let it go. And that makes you more patient, and it basically lets you wait for the actual rolling attack to come out eventually. Because it will come out eventually, but this is Dark Souls 3, so they can roll 9 times before that happens. So all that does is just trains your brain to not let the arrow go a little too soon. Now, the thing is, you can let an arrow go so fast that even if you see the rolling attack start, and you think it's too late, it'll still go out. You might not even see the animation of your arrow being fired, but you'll still actually trade, so it still works. So all this does is it makes you learn when to actually release an arrow to punish rolls into you, and if they're not doing that, they're doing the thing where they're running left and right, well, there's another thing you can do. You can free aim arrows, and it sounds daunting, and, well, it is daunting. It's pretty damn hard to do. It took a solid week or two of practice to be able to get it somewhat, in a repeatable fashion, and even then, I still maybe hit like 50% of them, if that. So it is very hard to free aim an arrow. It's not like an exploding bolt where you can just aim at the ground and hit a general area around your opponent and get it. You need to hit them with the 1 pixel wide arrow as they're running, which means you need to lead the arrow, account for lag, and account for the direction that they're running, which I guess is leading. That was redundant. But you can do this. And the best way to do this is to not follow them in a straight line because they think that you're going to target them. It's to look away from them and then quickly flick this, the analog stick in the direction that they're going to be in like a second. And that's the best way to do it. I can't really give any other pointers other than that. It's that simple, but just because it's simple to do doesn't mean it's easy to actually successfully do. There's not much to it other than, doing a 180 and letting go. And the 180 thing is not for fanciness. It's not to do no scopes or anything like that. It is to make your opponent think that you're not locked onto him, which usually makes them continue running in a straight line. Now, if you're locked onto them, they might zigzag, and then that becomes really hard. If they're running in a straight line, it becomes a lot more manageable, but you can free aim, and that's the only way to punish people that run circles around you, like with a katana or something. So that is something you need to learn how to do if you want to get really good at this. Not easy, though. It will take a long time to master that, for sure. So you're not going to win by just only using regular R1s against your opponent. You have to use running and rolling R1s as well. And these attacks are really powerful when used correctly, but they have very high recovery as well. So they come out very fast, but they end very slowly. Another thing is they don't have any poise damage whatsoever, meaning if you do a rolling attack on somebody and they're swinging at you, it doesn't matter even if they have a dagger, they're still going to finish their attack. So you need to know this, you need to swing this when you know that they're not going to be in range, or you're going to win the trade with whatever it is. So if it's like the second swing of a straight sword where they can't combo with it, you will win that trade. If it's the first swing of a straight sword, then chances are you will lose the trade because they'll be able to hit you twice and just kind of ignore your rolling attack. Another thing to know about these is they have very little tracking as well, so you either need to free aim it or be locked on. Now, you can free aim the running attacks and the rolling attacks. It does work, and it's very good for catching people that are running around in zigzags and stuff. But again, that's very hard to do, and it's hard to repeat. So be very careful with the running and rolling attacks. They are very, very good at quick hits, but you need to make sure you're doing it out of range or in a manner where you're going to end up winning the trade. Now, as for what bow you're going to be using, it's going to be the composite bow. There's no reason to use really any other bow. I experimented with pretty much every bow, great bows, just every single bow. And the only one I found really any good PvP use for, in the arena anyway, invasions are a different story, was the composite bow. The short bow is kind of similar with the same moveset, but it just simply does less damage. So you're going to want a 40 strength, 40 dex build, yay, with the composite bow. That's the way you're going to get the most damage. And I found that being light roll weight is probably the best, and then you might as well go with Flynn's for that as well. You would think it makes sense to have more armor since you're trading, but really, I mean, you still don't take that much damage. You still end up winning trades even with just, rags on. So I found the additional damage from Flynn's and the increased rolling distance to be definitely worth it. Now, Pure Bow has two very, very big counters. So much so that if you see one of these, you might as well just kill yourself because, you're never going to win. The first counter that has a chance of killing you pretty well is a quick hyper armor weapon. That is something like a mace or a greatsword. These things are very, very annoying to deal with because you can't really trade a rolling attack because sometimes they just kind of poise through it and it does more damage than your counter hit. You can't trade and stop a regular R1 because they'll poise through it and then they'll just carry out their combo and heavily outtrade you again. It's very, very hard to beat people with a quick hyper armor weapon. So much so that really all you can do is dodge and do rolling attacks because you can't hold an R1 and expect to trade. You can't even stop their running attacks, hyper armor. If they have any form of poise, they will just ignore the arrow. So quick hyper armor weapons are the bane of this build, and you will probably get wrecked if you have to fight something like that. The other thing that won't necessarily kill you, but is frustrating because there's nothing you can do, is a very good turtle. Anybody with a great shield or a regular shield that is showing no forms of aggression, you can't do anything. You can't beat them. It's impossible. There is no way you can guard break them, even if you put the bow in your other hand and kick them and guard break them. Okay, now what? Now what do you do? If you're doing pure bow, you can't do anything about it. So if someone has a shield and they're just turtling, there is nothing you can do to stop them from doing that. So much so that I actually bound a button cheat engine to just kill myself if a guy just turtles forever, because I'd rather take a loss than just run in circles for 3 minutes. They're not going to kill me, but I'm not going to kill them either, so... against people that use shields a bit more aggressively, you can still trade with them when they begin their R1, so that's not the same. But if someone's just turtling with a shield, you just kill yourself. You're never going to win, and there's nothing you can do about it. And no elemental arrows don't work either. I've tried. But for the most part, that is all the basic facets of using a pure bow build. It's a lot of fun, and it takes a lot of time to master. There are a lot of key points to it that take a lot of practice. But it is very rewarding when you get free aim shots, when you predict when they're going to roll into you and attack. All of it seems to be very rewarding once you get really good at it. So I definitely recommend giving it a try if you're getting a little bored of winning all the time. So I almost burped there, but I stopped it. I got a burp. Okay. That was a weak one. But that's it for me, guys. Yeah.